Hey there, everyone. Kunimitsu 877 today. I just wanted to do a really quick video. Um, you read the title if you know exactly where this is going, so I'm just going to give my thoughts on this topic because I've noticed it's come up a little bit more often when I'm in my friend groups. It comes up a lot more than you would expect it to, so I will keep this brief and I'll just give my thoughts on what I think about this particular topic. So, my thoughts on people who have an aversion to touch, whether that be touch in general or touch from people they don't know, or just let's say, there's different categories to this. Like there are people who are okay with handshakes but nothing else. There are people who are okay with hugs but nothing else. And then there are people who are not okay with either. That's kind of where this is. So my thoughts on it are very simple. I think if somebody gives you a boundary, it is something that you need to absolutely respect. It is something you absolutely should be mindful of, should be understanding of, should be respectful of. However, with that being said, it does go both ways. If somebody tells you they don't want to be touched, you should respect that. With that being said, the person in question who may not like to be touched, there's ways to approach it without causing issues. For example, if you just tell somebody, oh, I'm not much of a hugger, that's respectable. That's understandable. But if your first reaction is to, like, let's say somebody doesn't know you, you just met them, it's natural to be apprehensive around people you don't know. That's understandable completely, completely understandable. Where I would have an issue with it is, let's say you don't know somebody and they trip or something. You have a really klutzy, clumsy person who falls over things all the time. They exist and they accidentally bump into you without seeing you because, sometimes when you fall, you can't see where you're falling and they accidentally bump into you. And if your first reaction to an accidental touch is to start screaming at the top of your lungs and start cussing somebody out, that's not okay. I don't even think it's okay if someone gives you a hug and you don't like it. Now, I think it is acceptable to yell at somebody if you have somebody who repeatedly does not listen. Like, let's say they don't get the hint the first time. Because sometimes that happens. Sometimes people don't necessarily always get the hint because some people are slower than others, and that's okay. But if they continuously are invading your personal space after you've made it very, very clear that you do not want to be touched, you don't want to be held, you don't want to be hugged, and they're still refusing to respect that point I could understand you yelling. But if you're just going to yell from the get go of someone doing that, that's not okay because we also have to keep in mind that person may have trauma from yelling, just as you may have trauma reasons why you don't want to be touched. They may have trauma reasons for not wanting to be yelled at. Sorry about that. But continuing on with what I was saying, you get where I'm going with this. If you've been in this situation before, there are people who absolutely do have boundaries for a reason. There are people who don't want to be touched because they have trauma with touch, which is understandable and should be respected, understood, and don't belittle that person for having those boundaries. With that being said, however, you also should not belittle somebody who may have trauma from yelling, because there are people who are victims of this. Like they may have had some very traumatic things that have happened to them in their past. I think it should be, approached with respect and care. You can politely say, "Oh, I'm touch sensitive. Please don't touch me," or "Please don't hug me. I'm not much of a hugger." There's a difference with that versus "Don't fucking touch me. If you touch me again, I'm gonna," like that. You don't need to do that. There's no need for screaming. There's no need for cussing. There's no need for any kind of aggression like that. Again, are there exceptions to that rule? Of course. Some people don't take hints very well, and some people do require to be yelled at. Again, I'm going to say the example again. Like, let's say you have an overly touchy individual that has not taken the hint despite being given the hint multiple times in a row and being told multiple times in a row, and they have still yet to respect that. That's where I would say yelling is appropriate. But I would use yelling as like a last resort. And, I think these individuals should be respected. Like you should respect someone's personal space. That's just a basic human right. You don't know somebody, don't get up in their personal space. You do know somebody, don't get up in their personal space unless they give you explicit permission to do so. Like, it's not hard to do that. It's actually very easy to do that. I'm somebody who is very affectionate by nature. For example, I'm friends with people who both love and hate touch. I'm a very huggy individual. I do like cuddles, but I'm not going to cuddle somebody if they have explicitly told me they don't want to be physically touched in any way. Like if somebody tells me that, I will respect it. That's how I personally handle it. I would I would respect it and I would listen. That's the key thing that people need to start doing more is listening. We have boundaries for a reason. Boundaries are things that should be respected. Now, for example, this is not something that everybody needs to do. This is just how I choose to handle it. I'm an affectionate person by nature. If somebody tells me they don't want me to touch them, I will respect that. But in turn, it also does require me to heavily tone down my personality. Heavily. Like, if I'm around somebody who's okay with hugs, who's okay with cuddling and all that stuff, I could give you 100% myself and be as talkative as I usually am. If I'm around somebody who doesn't like that stuff, I could probably play video games with them and be fine, but I'll probably be like significantly less talkative. I probably won't say as much. I'll be a lot more quiet, a lot more reserved. Probably would only give 60% of my real self at most at that point. It's a little different if I'm in a group with that person and one of the people in the group is coddling me while I'm talking to that person, I can give like a good 75 to 80% of me to them and say, and be a bit more talkative, but it'd be impossible for me to give my 100% who I authentically am to that person, which is good and bad. It's good because, some people may prefer it that way because some people also just aren't really all that happy with people who are talkative, which is fine. You know, boundaries are there for a reason. Boundaries should be respected, and boundaries are not to be made fun of. Don't make fun of somebody because they have those boundaries. Um, Trying to think if there's anything else I want to add to this because I think it's a fascinating topic, and feel free to comment in the comment section if you think what I'm saying makes sense, if you disagree with anything that I'm saying, if you are okay with what I'm saying, or if you're not okay with what I'm saying. Feel free, but keep them respectful. I don't want to have an argument with somebody. Be respectful. Don't say name. Don't start calling people names. Don't start making fun of people. Don't start attacking people. Keep the comment section civil. Okay? No yelling. No cussing people out. And, just be respectful. We're all humans at the end of the day. And human rights are valid. Somebody has the right to tell you to get out of their personal space if they do not want you in their personal space. It does not mean that they hate you. It does not mean that they can't stand you. In fact, I found a lot of the time that people who may be touch resistant can at times like you a lot more than it leads on, which is something I'm still adapting to. I'm still learning to do. I'm trying to, in my brain, not register it as negative or, oh, they hate you, oh, they find you annoying, oh, they want to kill you. Like, just learning not to let that be someone's perception of me. And to people who are like me and are physically affectionate by nature and are kind, like don't have a negative bone in their body, but are affectionate by nature. If you have a friend who tells you that they don't want your affections, it does not mean that they don't want you. It does not mean that they don't want you there. It does not mean that they hate you. Please take that advice into consideration. I slip up on this all the time. I admit that. I will get into my head and I will start thinking, oh shit, where did I go wrong? Oh, I ruined everything. Don't self destruct. Don't beat yourself up over it. It happens. You slip up. An awkward situation happened, but don't make it more awkward than it needs to be. And that goes for both sides. If someone touches you, whether that be accidental or on purpose, and they don't know you have that boundary, don't scream. You scream, you make the situation more awkward than it needs to be. And for the person touching, don't get pissed or get your feelings hurt. Even though that part's hard, I know it's hard not to get your feelings hurt when someone rejects your affection. Somebody who struggles with rejection, I know the feeling. Don't make it worse. Just apologize and move on. It's that simple. Don't overthink it. This has been Kunimitsu. I hope you guys have enjoyed this talk. And once again, if you disagree with anything that I've said in this video, that's fine. I'm open to being educated. I'm open to being taught if I'm saying something incorrect or false. I'm open to people having an open conversation. That's what this video is for. I want to have an open conversation with people in the comments. So do not be scared to comment if you disagree with something in this video. Keep the comments civil. Don't call nobody names. You get the idea. Be respectful. And we can have a respectful conversation about this. And I think conversations like this are healthy. I think they're needed. And I think both sides are valid. So this is Kunimitsu signing out. Hope you guys have a great day. Bye-bye.